Continuing with former Governor Sarah Palin. Across the board on every topic, whether it's foreign policy or economy or whatever, what's the best thing you've seen President Obama do, and what's the worst thing in the short time he's been president?
I appreciated so much the other night when he's in China and he suggested that condemnation of the human rights abuses in that country. Of course, I'd like him to be even bolder about it, but probably some of his people didn't even want him to go that far in that condemnation. I appreciated that he was bold enough to go ahead and tell China that their human rights abuses are not acceptable in our eyes. The worst thing, you know, I think that there's been a lack of acknowledgement by our president in understanding what it is that the American military provides in terms of, obviously, the safety, the security of our country. There was the comment made the other night, you know, about, hey, you know, the troops make for a good photo op, and hey, I'm giving you guys a raise, and that's the applause line you need to get excited about. I want him to acknowledge how the sacrifices that these individual men and women, our sons, our daughters, our moms, our dads, our brothers and sisters, are providing this country to keep us safe. This service that they're providing that is to something greater than self. They're making sacrifices. They're putting so much on hold right now so that the homeland can be safe and they can fight for democratic ideals around our world. I want to see more acknowledgement and more respect given to that, not just with that.
But just words? I mean, do you just want words from, say, you know, hey,
no, I
great
want
job.
to see them equipped. I want to see them given everything that they need, including strategies, a surge strategy in Afghanistan, for one, so that they know that they're there for victory. They're not there just biding their time as lives are being lost. I want our president and this administration to listen to the advisors whom they hired, McChrystal, for one, back in March, telling the president, here's what we're going to need there, and then ramping up that advice lately, saying, Mr. President, here's what we need in Afghanistan to win, to make sure that those terror cells don't grow, so that those terrorists don't come back over to the homeland in America, on our soil, and kill innocent Americans. I want him to listen to his advisors. That's what he asked for.
He's one of the criticisms that there is that he's been listening too long. You know, that McChrystal gave him that information in August. On the other hand, we don't want any sort of rush to judgment in terms of when he should make a decision. Do you expect that decision to have been made by now by the president, or do you appreciate that sort of the consultation, the continued consultation?
How long does consultation and talk among bureaucrats go on? No, the American people want action, one way or another. And our troops deserve that too. They need to know what's in their future, even personally, and for their families, and for their employment and education opportunity, even for practical reasons. Our military needs to know, where are we going in Afghanistan? Are we going to listen to McChrystal, and are we going to provide that counterinsurgency strategy that includes more reinforcements being sent and get the job done? Or are we going to keep kind of dithering around and not knowing, so many of us who really are war weary, not knowing how long is this going to go on, and why are we sending troops over there unless the goal is to win, is to kill the terrorists and stop this growth of the cells and make sure that we're doing all that we can to secure the homeland and to fight for the ideals in a country that, believe it or not, I think they want us there because they want us to assist.
Do you think we can win in Afghanistan? The Soviet Union had their problems in the early 1990s. They ran home. They got out of there. We've been there 8 years now, and it seems to be getting worse. We have more problems there, and of course it's bleeding into Pakistan. Can we really win there? Are we being truthful to ourselves?
We have to, and that's what the president's advisors are saying. We have to win there, and here's how we can win. And that's why it's so important for the president to listen to McChrystal, to listen to those who are there on the front lines, they're on the ground, telling him what it is that we need with this new strategy.
Up next, what does Governor Palin think about Secretary of State Hillary Clinton? This answer might really surprise you. More with former Governor Sarah Palin. What about Pakistan? We've got a country that has nuclear weapons. We've just given them $7.5 billion. We were there with Secretary of State Hillary Clinton recently, and the Pakistanis are furious at the Americans. They were even very unhappy that the $7.5 billion came with strings attached. They thought that was quite offensive and insulting. And then we've got India, who says, why are you giving them the money? We're not the ones growing terrorist cells. We didn't get the money. What would you do there?
Geez, well, with India, too, we have to make sure that we're working closely with India, the largest democracy in the world, such a strategic partner of ours. We have to make sure that India and Pakistan know that, hey, the last thing that this world needs is conflict between these two countries. That's the last thing that we need. In fact, they both need to understand that each other are not the problem. The Taliban is the problem. There needs to be a concerted effort on both parts to make sure that the Taliban is controlled. Pakistan's doing some right things right now. They're cracking down internally on that growth of the terrorist cells there. India needs to support them do that. And India, I would hope, and we have a great relationship with the Prime Minister there. In fact, he's coming over to having dinner with Obama here in a couple of days. I would certainly hope that the relationship that America can kind of be in the middle of and help forge a stronger alliance between the two countries will be certainly will be implemented very soon, because the last thing that we can afford is for this growing superpower, India, to have this kind of conflict with Pakistan and this distrust between them. The leaders need to come together. Maybe that's what President Obama, maybe that's where his gift, his talent that he wants us to believe that he has in being a forger of good relationships. Maybe this is where it can be made manifest. It has to be. It has to be, and he's willing to do it, he says.
How do you do that, though? I mean, it's like, people have tried, Secretary of State Clinton has tried. I mean, how do you get these countries to talk to each other and not to be at each other's throats and be saber-rattling?
Well, that's the nature of superpowers, too, is that saber-rattling and is that that seeking of even more power. The world is so volatile right now, especially when we talk about the nuclear arms, though. The world is so volatile that we cannot afford to hesitate to at least attempt to bring these leaders together and get them to understand again. We have a common enemy. Pakistan, India, America, we have a common enemy, and it is the terrorists. Why can't we forge an alliance there, a military alliance even, to finally get rid of those terrorists in Pakistan that are threatening and have attacked in Mumbai and some of the areas in India? Why can't we get these folks together and forge that relationship that's so necessary in such a volatile world where parts of our world could be literally blown up with these nuclear arms? We cannot afford to hesitate at all in at least attempting to bring these leaders together.
And I hope you didn't think that I was suggesting we give up in Afghanistan or any of these places. I'm really challenging you because I certainly don't have the answers to any of these places.
Not one person does. Our president does not have the answer, and he needs to be humble enough to admit that he doesn't have all the answers, but that's why he builds a team around him to advise. That's why he chose McChrystal, his own person, to tell him what is it that we need in order to win in Afghanistan so that our homeland is safe. McChrystal is telling him what we need, and that's enough, I believe, of the discussion and of the strategy sessions on where we should go. You know, I won't accuse him of playing politics with this, but if there's any hint of politics being played in this, he needs to let that just get out the door, put that aside, listen to his advisors, the team that he has created, and get this thing over with.
How about Secretary of State Clinton? She's been globetrotting. I don't mean that in a derogatory way, but just that she's been hitting all these countries. How's she doing?
I think she's doing a great job, and Americans appreciate that she is out there. And you know, she's got a boss. Her boss is President Obama, and you know, she's not going to get ahead of him. So again, it's all the more reason that the man whom we elected, will listen to those who are his team, including Hillary Clinton, and do what's right for our country.
President Ahmadinejad of Iran is in Brazil, and that, of course, has caused some consternation on the part of the United States. What do you think about the president of Brazil entertaining Ahmadinejad?
I wish that the president of Brazil would put his foot down and start telling Ahmadinejad what we want to tell him, and that is, it is unacceptable, this madman regime of his, to ever threaten Israel to wipe it off the face of the earth and to spew his hatred of America. And I would hope that the president of Brazil would forge even better relationships with France, with Britain, with America, and start looking at joining us in the sanctions that we should be applying to Iran, instead of just talking about the sanctions, all these great ideas that we have to not allow them to capitalize on favorable monetary deals or continued imports of petroleum, refined petroleum products, but actually sanctioning this country until they start changing their behavior, like Brazil to join in that.
All right, well, this afternoon we're going to see a lot with the military, and I know that you have a big afternoon. We're going to be chasing you around, so we'll catch up with you again on the bus.
Okay, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good.
Up next, you take a ride on Governor Palin's book tour bus, plus Governor Palin answers these questions. Why did she resign her office? And what didn't the governor put in her book that she wanted to include? That and much more next.